Good afternoon, good Shabbos to you all. My name is Kevin Mack. I'm glad to be with you once again. And 2 weeks ago, as you may remember, it was windy, it was rainy, and in fact, poor Kathy Smock had lost power, and that's why we had to somewhat clumsily graft two services or two parts of the same service together. Fortunately, it is a glorious afternoon this afternoon, and we should have no such problems. It's certainly an interesting day. We're in the middle of the Democratic Convention. The sermon, in a way, touches upon that, and in a way not. And we'll get to that soon enough. We begin in our Sidurim with the chanting of Shalom Aleichem, and we find it on page 2. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Eyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch li l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitechem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turning to page 3, we welcome Shabbat. Draw near, eternal God, as working day turns to Sabbath rest. You have been with me all the week, and yet I have forgotten you, God of my hope and my salvation. Now, kindling these lights, I saw your name, remembering the love you have shown to me, and in gratitude and thanks I turn to you to bathe my hungry soul in your kindness. And actually, the candles are over here, and we take a moment to bring the Spirit towards each one of us as we kindle our Shabbat lights. Bringing the spirit of these wonderful lights to each and all of us, we chant, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat. We praise you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe. You have made us holy by your mitzvot and have commanded us to kindle the Shabbat lights. May we be blessed with Shabbat joy. May we be blessed with Shabbat peace. May we be blessed with Shabbat holiness. And we continue our thankfulness for reaching this season, this time together with the chanting of the Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higianu, lazman hazeh. Amen. Turning to the next page in our Sidurim, page 4, we have Lecha Dodi, and we will do the verses that we find here. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabala, lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabala. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamayuchad, Adonai echad, Ushmo echad, Shemu l'tiferet v'li t'chila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha, Ki mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri, Kiva orech, Kumi uri, Shir daperi, Kavod Adonai, Alayich nigla, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. On page 5, we come to the body of the service, the Baruch Hu, the Shema, and prayers afterwards. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due, now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We praise you, Adonai. You love your people Israel. And continuing with the Shema, the watchword of our faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Vachoto Le'olam Va'ed. On page 6, we have the English translation of the Ve'ahavta, which we can read together before we chant it in Hebrew. You shall love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God. Ve'ata et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi tzavacha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לוטות עופות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Thinking of our Exodus and our crossing of the Red Sea as per Miriam's prayer, we chant now the Mi Chamocha, found in the middle of page 6. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef elem, Nora tehilot osef elem, Malechutecha ra'u v'necha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze'eli alu v'amru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. V'nemar kifata Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Who is like you, Eternal One, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, doing wonders? In their escape from the sea, your children saw your sovereign might displayed. This is my God, they cried. The Eternal will reign forever and ever. And it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. We continue on page 7. We have gathered in this space to celebrate Shabbat together. Our ancestors created Shabbat to be an island of quiet in a tumultuous and frantic world. Once each week, we are invited to pause and set aside our routines, that we might refresh our spirits and renew within us that vision of our highest self. Through Sabbath rest and worship, we are called upon to remember that we alone have the power to create a life that transcends the ordinary. In these moments of quiet, we reflect upon the meaning of our lives. Take a moment for such reflection. We continue on the middle of page 7 now with the joyful song Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת בדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, Oti leolam, Oti leolam, Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasod et ha-Shabbat, L'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat, L'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasod et ha-Shabbat, L'dorotam berit olam. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Eternal One made heaven and earth, but on the seventh day God rested and was refreshed. Prayerful moment now on page 8 as we recite this sort of introduction to the Avot and Gevurot. O my soul, O my God, my soul's compassion, my heart's precious friend, I turn to you. In the silence of my innermost being, in the fragment of my yearned for holiness, I hear whispers of your presence, echoes of the past when you were with me, when I felt your nearness, when together we walked, when you held me close, embraced me in your love, laughed with me in my joy. I yearn to hear you again. In your oneness, I find healing. In the promise of your love, I am soothed. In your wholeness, I too become whole again. Please listen to my call. Help me find the words. Help me find the strength within. Help me shape my mouth, my voice, my heart, so that I can direct my spirit and find you in prayer. In words only my heart can speak. In songs only my soul can sing, lifting my eyes and heart to you. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, open my lips, precious God, so that I can speak with you again. On page 9, we come to another joyful song, a prayer in song, certainly. Yismechu. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadoshei, Mekadoshei Shvi Shabbat, Kulam Yisbeu, Ve'it'anhu b'tovecha Shabbat, Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat, Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Uvayishi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat, chemdat ya'amim, oto karat ha-Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, shomre, shomre, shomre Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomre, Shomre, Shomre Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh Bereshit Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh Bereshit Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutcha Shomre, Shomre, Shomre Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutcha Shomre, Shomre, Shomre Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat. Those who keep Shabbat and call it a delight shall rejoice in your deliverance. All who hallow the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, a symbol of the joy of your creation. We continue now with a series of prayers for peace, the first of which is Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon B'kol HaShalom. Ki atahu melech Adon B'kol HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol עת ובכל שעה ישלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Bring complete and lasting peace to Israel, your people. For you are the master of peace who rules over all. Let it be good in your eyes to bless Israel, your people, every season, every hour with your peace. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Blessed are you, Eternal One. You bless your people, Israel, with peace. And who knows, we might be getting just a little bit closer to peace with Israel and its neighbors, as the week's headlines have shown. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may always be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Blessed is the eternal God, the source of peace. We think about others at this time, as we do every service. And we want prayers for healing to be extended to them. Many are facing difficult times in mind and body and spirit. So think of those people who you may personally know who are having a tough time right now. And you're welcome to speak to them silently or out loud, the names of those unwell. And thinking of all of those less fortunate than ourselves, we chant the prayer of healing, Misha Beirach. Yisheberach avotenu, Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu, Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We continue with the Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May the one who makes peace in the high places make peace for us, for all Israel, and for all the world. And let us say, Amen. You may put your sidurim down for a moment, or possibly in Kathy's case, put your cat down for a moment. One of three, I understand. And we're continuing in the book of Deuteronomy. We're just about halfway through, and it's the passage known as Shoftim. And that's Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 18 through chapter 21, verse 9. And I guess you could subtitle this, Lots of Laws. And so here are the headlines, as we now promise. Moses' laws. Moses gives us a number of laws about justice and religion, and the proper worship of God, and the administration of justice, and rules for waging holy war, and then miscellaneous laws as well. So it's quite a chunk, really, of different laws, and essentially how to comport oneself. There are some interesting passages, especially interesting and worthwhile passages, ones that I know I have, and certainly many others have expounded upon before. And given the tenor of the times, it wouldn't be a bad idea to approach them again, possibly from a slightly different perspective. We can entitle this, The Greatness of Humility. Why humility is the key to charisma and effective leadership. But I urge you, as you hear this, not to think of any one person or just of politics, but of leadership in so many different ways, in all the people with whom we come in contact with and know of and read about. This week's portion says that a Jewish king is commanded to write for himself a Torah scroll and to carry it with him at all times. That's from Deuteronomy 17, verses 18 through 20. The idea behind this is that the king needs to maintain perspective. He should remember just where his or her power comes from and not make the mistake of thinking that that person is in control. In Jewish thinking, arrogance is the worst of all traits, where humility is the greatest trait. When the Torah looks to praise Moses, he is singled out as the most humble of men. That's actually from the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verse 3. That, the sages say, is the greatest and most genuine form of charisma. We see from here that the purpose of humility is not so much a hedge against becoming intoxicated with power, rather the idea that humility itself is empowering. But how does this work? Humility does not mean lack of self-esteem. It does not mean self-denigration, Uriah Heep style, you may remember. Humility in Judaism is a recognition that there are more important things in this world than one's own desires and needs. Humility is a matter of perspective. Talent as capable as I may be, I am nevertheless only a small part of a vast universe. A humble person realizes what's right is infinitely more valuable than serving oneself. The more humble, the greater the leader, because a humble person has no interest in his or her own honor, power, and self-aggrandizement. That person serves only who that person leads. In Torah law, the people are not servants of the king. The king, or a queen perhaps, is a servant of the people. The first king of Israel, Saul, did not want the job. And because he did not want the job, he was the right man for the job. Because the extent to which a leader enjoys the trappings of power is the extent to which he or she no longer serves the people alone. I think about the film from the late 50s, I think about 1957 or so, The Best Man, you may remember, with Hugh Robertson and Henry Fonda. Very powerful film in glorious black and white. And this thought of the greatness of humility works very well with that film. The humble person will not only have the confidence of those he or she leads, that person will also be unafraid of those that person leads. Doing that which is right for the nation is all that matters to him or her. Whether or not he or she is popular is irrelevant. On a personal level, this applies to us as well. If you or I have humility, then living with what we believe to be right is more important than what others think of us. A humble person is unaffected by social pressures, unmoved by societal norms. Indeed, humility is the foundation of true independence. Arrogance is a fast track to mediocrity. Humility, on the other hand, paves the way for greatness. It is no accident that the Torah considers Moses, the most humble of all, to be the greatest human being that ever lived. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Elenum that we find on page 12. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teknu l'yoldo yotze breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, lo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'lo raleinu k'chohamonam. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. You spread out the heavens and established the earth. You are our God, there is none else. In truth, you alone are our sovereign God. As it is written, know then this day and take it to heart. The Eternal One is God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is none else. We can say together, Eternal God, we face the morrow with hope made stronger by the vision of your deliverance. A world where poverty and war are banished, where injustice and hate are gone. Teach us more and more to respond to the pain of others, to heed your call for justice. that we may bring near the day when all the world shall be one. On that day, the age-old dream shall come true. On that day, O God, you shall be one, and your name shall be one. V'nemar v'haya Adonai, l'melech ha'kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. I don't know of anyone whom we have lost at Whitney Center, and surely there are yard sites of all of those amongst you whom you aren't able to let all the rest of us know about. But hold them dear to your hearts as we chant the Mourner's Kaddish in just a moment. As we remember all of them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. You'll find the Mourner's Kaddish text on page 13. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. Amen. Yamad divrach chirute, yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon u'chayed kol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv ve'imiru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach, la'alam la'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shmei l'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ve'alma ve'imiru. Amen. Yehei shlamar Rabbah min Shemaya v'chaim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imiru. Amen. Yoseh shalom b'imrumav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imiru. Amen. Let the glory of God be extolled and God's great name be hallowed in the world whose creation God willed. May God rule in our own day, in our own lives, and in the life of all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Let God's great name be blessed forever and ever. Beyond all the praises, songs, and adorations that we can utter is the Holy One, the Blessed One, whom yet we glorify, honor, and exalt. And let us say, Amen. For us and for all Israel, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true. And let us say, Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens cause peace to reign among us, all Israel, and all the world. And let us say, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. In the same spirit, we continue with the recitation of We Remember Them, which would be on page 15. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. Take a moment or two to greet your neighbor, either physically or virtually. And you can share with them a simcha, some bit of good news. Although I wasn't able to get a hold of him, and I certainly did try, I wished my brother a happy 70th birthday yesterday. Hopefully he is well. And we are getting close to concluding our service. First, we have Kiddush. And your eyes are not deceiving you. The Kiddush cups are getting smaller. We're going to get small, then we're going to get big again. This one is of the same general shape as the last couple, but as you can see, it's about maybe 2/3 of the size, and it too is about 80 or 90 years old, from what I understand. So we lift our Kiddush cup, or cups of whatever grape you have, and we chant, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen, Amen. L'chaim. Yes, it's from that bread. And in fact, there's plenty more. So we chant together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I won't lie to you. That piece is a little bit dry. We continue, and again, we are getting close to the conclusion of our service with Adon Olam on the last page of your Sidurim. Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Na'asa V'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Noram V'hu Haya V'hu Hovem V'hu Yiyem B'tif Ara V'hu Echad V'ein Sheni Laham Shilo Lahachbira Beli Reshit Beli Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'hamizra V'hu Eli V'chai Goalim V'tzorchev li B'eit Tzara V'hu Nisi Umanos li Menat Kosi V'yom Ekra V'yado Avkid Ruchim Be'ed Ishan V'a'iram V'imruchi Gaviyati Adonai li V'lo Iram. And I wish you a beautiful, serene Shabbat, and hopefully a productive week ahead. And we'll conclude with the priestly blessing from the book of Numbers. Yirarechecha Adonai v'yish merecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's countenance shine on you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's face unto you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom to all.